Hi, Len here, and I'm going to introduce a computer practical on fitting covariates to the detection function, so MCDS analyses. We have four data sets to offer you here. They're in rough order of increasing difficulty, and feel free to do as many of them as you like. The first one is actually a simulated data set. It's this whale of a data set question, and the data are available in a project called Covar Whale Sim. And these data relate to migrating whales. It's a line transect survey, and the covariates that are available are time of day, which is thought to affect detectability because of sun angles, and also a motion sickness tablet dosage variable, which is the second one here. So because that one's simulated data, it's relatively straightforward to analyze, and we also know what the correct answer is. The second data set is also simulated in some sense, but it's real data in another sense. So it comes from clusters of golf tees that we set up in the grass here at the University of St Andrews, and had third and fourth year undergraduate students do the survey. So it's an simulated experiment, but it's real line transect data. And the reason that there are covariates is that we have different types of golf tees. So we had yellow and green ones, which we're calling male and female. And then we also have an exposure covariate, which is a judgment about whether the tee was obscured by grass or not. So exposure 0 is obscured, and exposure 1 means more obvious to the eye. These are available in a project called Golf Tees Exercise. Now, one thing about this project is that these data were originally generated in order to look at mark recapture distance sampling, which is a more complicated method when you can't assume that you see everything, or don't want to assume you see everything on the transect line. So double platform surveys is another name for it. But here we're going to do multiple covariate distance sampling. We're going to assume we see everything on the transect line. And so the data are set up for a mark recapture distance sampling analyses, and these data are set up in a rather different way from the stuff that you've worked with up until now. And so when you open the project, you'll see that there are multiple analysis sets here, and that I've created a set and an initial analysis for a conventional distance sampling analysis, so a standard distance sampling analysis, using only the data from the first group of observers that went through, so that's platform 1. So it's making it like a single platform survey, so a standard survey that you're used to. So feel free to have an explore around and see how I've done that when you open the project. I used a data filter to filter out just the data for the first observer. So it's asking you to have a look around the project. The question here is asking you to have a look around, fit a conventional distance sampling analysis, and then try some of these covariates and use model selection to see which covariates are selected. The third data set is a real world data set collected from the Eastern Tropical Pacific from a ship, and they're on dolphins, spotted dolphins associated with tuna vessels. The ships are tuna catching vessels. And there are a number of covariates available here, including the type of cue that was involved in the animal being seen, and search method, and a number of other covariates as well. So there is no right answer in this particular case. So open up the project, try different models, and see what you come up with. I should point out that, and I think it says it somewhere, that the first thing you should do is fit a standard conventional distance sampling analysis and look at goodness of fit. You'll see that there's a bit of a problem in the data that you're going to have to mitigate before you start doing multiple covariate distance sampling analyses. I'd start putting in the covariates one by one once you've solved that problem. And then you might like to try them in combination if you find that several look like they might be important. And then finally you could try fitting some adjustment terms. I'd start without fitting any adjustment terms if I was you, when you start the multiple covariate distance sampling. And then the last example is a point transit example. It's this one here, and it comes from a paper. Here's the reference to the paper that was written in order to make to explain MCDS analyses, and it has this analysis as an example. There are 3 covariates available. They are the observer. There were 3 different observers. The time of day, as in minutes since sunrise, and the hour of the day. So those last 2 clearly are correlated with each other, so you'll want to choose one or the other of them. And as I said, that's a point transect data set, so something a little bit different there. Okay, so I'll leave it over to you to analyze these different data sets then.